Without objection, the gentleman from Michigan is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are now a week removed from the President's celebrated health care summit, and we are a day removed from the President's press conference regarding moving ahead on the health care bill despite the wishes of the American people. Prior to the summit, which I referred to as the ShamWoW summit, I was one of the voices urging that Republicans not attend unless the President decided to start from scratch and find a principled basis for compromise amongst both sides. That principled basis was not found, and the principled divide remains. The House and Senate Republicans went in to the summit, and they engaged admirably and honestly in the cause of putting forward Republican solutions to health care. Yet, what we found was that afterwards the President has decided to arbitrarily negotiate with himself purports to be a bipartisan compromise bill, one which magically has been obtained without the consent of the minority party. As succinctly summarized by Mr. Charles Krauthammer yesterday, the summit was a ShamWoW summit, and the good faith of those Republicans in the room is now currently being used in a political charade upon the people to prepare them for the proposition that a bipartisan health care bill is before them. I quote Mr. Krauthammer. But they, the administration, wanted to present it to the American citizenry as having tried to reach out. That's why you had the charade of the summit last week, 7 hours of discussion when it was already pre-cooked that nothing would change anything. But that's part of the deal. He, the President, wants to appear to be offering to incorporate Republican proposals. And now the pivot, which we had today. It is important as the health care debate continues that we not lose sight of the principal divide between the two sides. On the one hand, the Democratic majority wants to have government-run, bureaucrat-dictated health care. On the other, the Republican Party wants to have free market, patient-centered wellness. No amount of taking Republican proposals and sprinkling them on to the faulty premise of a government-run bill will make it bipartisan or will make the Republican proposals effectual. As contrarily, we'll be taking the Democrats' proposals and putting them on to a free market, patient-centered wellness bill. It is a principal divide, one which Abraham Lincoln reminds us. Important principles must remain inflexible. And in this instance, the bridge between the two parties has not been established and the divide remains. Also within this debate, I think it is important to point out a second important act. This is not merely about the money, it is about the liberty. We can all talk about costs, we can all talk about coverage, and in my view, the current health care bill would be have a catastrophic impact upon the fiscal condition of the United States, which is already tenuous at best. It is about the American people wanting to make sure that they retain these decisions in their hands, and that the forces that we see around us throughout the communication and innovation revolutions that empower them to make their own decisions every day to greater extents than at any time in human history remain in their own hands rather than those of a government bureaucrat. This is not mere supposition on my part. I cite two recent poll numbers. According to the Rasmussen report, only 21% of United States citizens believe that this government has their consent. I cite a second sobering statistic. According to CNN, 56% of Americans believe the federal government is a threat to the freedom of ordinary citizens. So as this healthcare debate proceeds forward despite the wishes of the American people, we are not only endangering their health care, we are endangering and jeopardizing their faith in their representative institutions, into their belief that this is a servant government of the sovereign people. So in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I again point out that there is a principal divide between the two parties. One wants government-run, bureaucrat-dictated health care. One wants free market, patient-centered wellness. And as we move toward the former, the American people's faith in their representative institutions will be continually eroded as they watch an obstinate insistence by this majority and by this administration to pass a health care bill that the American people have said they do not want. I yield back the balance of my time.
Somebody else back? Ms. Wosley?